Ian Morton entering the pits is P18. 30 minutes remaining in the session. ReneRmotorsport-Assetto is P2 on standards. Race start. Attila Ksenia is P3. San Marco from Zimbabwe is P2 on standards. Jovan Ustiosin is P8. San Marco is P2. Jovan Ustiosin is P8. Attila Ksenia is P2. San Marco is P2. David Kelsall is P5. ReneRmotorsport-Assetto is P2. Brian Patterson is P12. Attila Ksenia is P2. David Kelsall on lap 2 is P5, 0.2 seconds behind Hein van Niekerk. San Marco is P2, 0.3 seconds ahead of Attila Ksenia. Attila Ksenia is P2, 0.2 seconds ahead of San Marco. Jovan Ustiosin is P8, 0.2 seconds behind Ryan Skywalker. Attila Ksenia is P2, 0.3 seconds behind ReneRmotorsport-Assetto. Hein van Niekerk is P4, 0.3 seconds behind San Marco. ReneRmotorsport-Assetto is P2, 0.4 seconds behind Attila Ksenia. David Kelsall is P5, 0.4 seconds behind Hein van Niekerk. Ian Morton entering the pits after 2 laps on standards is P19. Jovan Ustiosin is P8, 0.1 seconds behind Ryan Skywalker. David Kelsall is P5, 0.4 seconds behind Hein van Niekerk. Jovan Ustiosin is P8, 0.2 seconds behind Ryan Skywalker. Emmanuel Rushiuser is P17, 0.2 seconds behind John Astrid. Jovan Ustiosin is P8, 0.1 seconds ahead of Ryan Skywalker. Glenfield is P9 on standards battling Ryan Skywalker. Kian Chen is P14, 1.1 seconds behind Richard Ogden. Glenfield on lap 3 is P9, 0.4 seconds behind Ryan Skywalker. Ryan Skywalker from South Africa is P8 on standards, 0.3 seconds ahead of Glenn Field. Best lap is a 150.719. 2.707 of the fastest lap. 25 minutes remaining in the session. Jovan Ustjorzen is P7, 0.5 seconds ahead of Ryan Skywalker. Glenn Field is P9, 0.1 seconds behind Ryan Skywalker. Kian Chen is P14, 0.1 seconds behind Richard Ogden. Glenn Field is P9, 0.1 seconds ahead of Eric Bone. Eric Bone is P9, 0.1 seconds ahead of Glenn Field. Kian Chen on lap 4 is P14, 0.1 seconds behind Richard Ogden. John Astrup entering the pits after 4 laps on standards is P18. Glenn Field is P10, 0.3 seconds behind Ryan Skywalker. David Kelsall is P5, 0.5 seconds behind Hein van Nicken. Glenn Field is P10, 0.2 seconds behind Ryan Skywalker. Eric Bone is P8, 0.5 seconds behind Jovan Ustjorzen. Ryan Skywalker is P10 on standards, 0.3 seconds behind Glenn Field. Jovan Ustjorzen is P8 on standards, 0.3 seconds behind Eric Bone. Emmanuel Rushiuser is P17. Glenn Field is P9, 0.5 seconds behind Ryan Skywalker. Glenn Field entering the pits after 5 laps on standards is P10. San Markham is P3, 0.8 seconds behind Rene Robertson. Kian Chen entering the pits after 5 laps on standards is P13. Richard Ogden entering the pits after 5 laps on standards is P14. Kian Chen is P12. San Markham is P3. Best lap is a 148.126. 0.664 of the fastest lap. Bruce Hardwick entering the pits after 5 laps on standards is P15. Richard Ogden is P13 on standards. David Kelsall is P4. Bruce Hardwick is P17. 2.6 seconds ahead of John Astrup. Best lap is a 153.848. 6.386 of the fastest lap. Eric Bone is P7, 0.1 seconds behind Hein van Nicken. Rene Robertson on lap 5 is P2, 0.6 seconds ahead of San Markham. Kian Chen is P14 on standards, 0.5 seconds behind Richard Ogden. Eric Bone is P6, 0.4 seconds behind David Forsyth. David Forsyth from Ireland is P5 on standards. San Markham from Zimbabwe is P3, 0.4 seconds behind Rene Robertson. Eric Bone is P6, 0.3 seconds behind David Forsyth. San Markham is P3 on standards, 0.3 seconds behind Rene Robertson. Hein van Niekerk on lap 6 is P7, 0.2 seconds behind David Forsyth. 20 minutes remaining in the session. San Marco is P3, 0.4 seconds behind Rene Robertson. Bruce Hardwick entering the pits is P18. Emmanuel Richard is P16, 4.9 seconds behind Louis van Jaarsveld. Rene Robertson is P3, 0.1 seconds behind San Marco. David Forsyth from Ireland is P7, 0.3 seconds behind Hein van Niekerk. Jovan Oosthuizen is P7, 0.2 seconds behind Hein van Niekerk. David Kalsor is P4, 0.5 seconds behind San Marco. Jovan Oosthuizen is P7, 0.8 seconds ahead of David Forsyth. Guillaume Chen entering the pits after 2 laps on standards is P16. Guillaume Chen is P16. Best lap is a 1:51.029. 4.172 of the fastest lap. Glenn Field is P12, 2.0 seconds ahead of Richard Ogden. David Kelsall on lap 7 is P4, 0.5 seconds behind San Marco. Louis van Jaarsveld entering the pits after 7 laps on standards is P14. Rene Robertson is P4, 0.9 seconds ahead of Eric Bohm. Eric Bohm is P4, 3.8 seconds ahead of Hein van Niekerk. Jovan Oosthuizen is P6, 0.1 seconds behind Hein van Niekerk. David Kelsall is P3, 0.5 seconds behind San Marco. Mark Scott entering the pits after 7 laps on standards is P11. Jovan Oosthuizen is P6, 0.1 seconds behind Hein van Niekerk. David Kelsall is P3, 0.4 seconds behind San Marco. Eric Bohm entering the pits after 8 laps is P4. Eric Bohm is P8, 2.8 seconds behind Ryan Skywalker. David Kelsall is P3, 0.4 seconds behind San Marco. Rene Robertson entering the pits after 8 laps on standards is P10. Jovan Oosthuizen is P4, 1.2 seconds ahead of David Forsyth. Rene Robertson on lap 8 is P12. Hein van Niekerk is P6, 0.5 seconds behind David Forsyth. Rene Robertson is P13, 0.1 seconds behind Emmanuel Richard. Best lap is a 1:48.018. 1.161 of the fastest lap. Hein van Niekerk is P6, 0.3 seconds behind David Forsyth. Emmanuel Richard is P13, 0.3 seconds behind Rene Robertson. Hein van Niekerk is P6, 0.3 seconds behind David Forsyth. Best lap is a 1:48.035. 1.178 of the fastest lap. Jovan Ustiosen entering the pits after 9 laps on standards is P4. David Forsyth entering the pits after 9 laps on standards is P7. Jovan Ustiosen is P5, 0.4 seconds ahead of Ryan Skywalker. 15 minutes remaining in the session. Glenfield is P10. Emmanuel Russia user is P13, 0.3 seconds behind Rene Robertson. David Kelsall is P3, 0.6 seconds behind San Marco. Best lap is a 1:47.606. 0.749 of the fastest lap. Emmanuel Russia user entering the pits after 9 laps on standards is P13. Emmanuel Russia user is P13, 2.6 seconds ahead of John Astrup. John Astrup entering the pits after 6 laps on standards is P14. Glenfield is P8 on standards, 1.3 seconds ahead of David Forsyth. John Astrup is P14. Best lap is a 1:50.402. 3.545 of the fastest lap. David Kelsall is P3, 0.8 seconds behind San Marco. Attila Ksenia is P1. Attila Ksenia entering the pits after 10 laps on standards is P1. Glenfield is P8, 0.7 seconds ahead of David Forsyth. Attila Ksenia is P3, 1.2 seconds behind David Kelsall. Best lap is a 1:46.857. Hein van Niekerk entering the pits after 10 laps on standards is P4. Hein van Niekerk is P4, 2.3 seconds ahead of Ryan Skywalker. Ryan Skywalker entering the pits after 10 laps on standards is P5. Glenfield is P8. Brian Patterson entering the pits after 10 laps on standards is P7. Brian Patterson is P7. Glenfield is P8 on standards, 0.6 seconds ahead of David Forsyth. Ryan Skywalker on lap 10 is P9. David Forsyth from Ireland is P7, 0.4 seconds behind Jovan Ustiosen. Ryan Skywalker is P9, 0.5 seconds behind Richard Ogden. David Forsyth is P7, 0.4 seconds behind Jovan Ustiosen. Jovan Ustiosen is P6, 0.4 seconds ahead of David Forsyth. San Marco is P1, 1.5 seconds ahead of David Kelsall. San Marco entering the pits after 11 laps on standards is P1. David Kelsall entering the pits after 11 laps is P2. Glenfield is P5. David Kelsall is P2, 2.6 seconds behind Attila Ksenia. Glenfield is P5, 1.2 seconds ahead of Jovan Ustiosen. David Kelsall is P3, 3.6 seconds ahead of Eric Bone. David Forsyth is P7 on standards, 0.2 seconds behind Jovan Ustiosen. Jovan Ustiosen is P6, 0.8 seconds ahead of David Forsyth. Rene Robertson is P10, 0.8 seconds behind Richard Ogden. David Forsyth is P7, 0.3 seconds behind Jovan Ustiosen. Rene Robertson is P10, 0.4 seconds behind Richard Ogden. David Forsyth from Ireland is P7, 0.5 seconds behind Jovan Ustjorzen. 10 minutes remaining in the session. Hein van Niekerk entering the pits after 2 laps on standards is P12. Jovan Ustjorzen is P6, 0.5 seconds ahead of David Forsyth. David Forsyth from Ireland is P7, 0.3 seconds ahead of Glenn Field. Glenn Field on lap 12 is P7. Glenn Field entering the pits after 8 laps on standards is P7. San Marcom is P2, 3.5 seconds ahead of Eric Bohm. David Kelsall is P4, 0.3 seconds behind Eric Bohm. Jovan Ustjorzen is P5, 0.6 seconds ahead of David Forsyth. Best lap is a 1:49.777. 2.920 of the fastest lap. Glenn Field is P13. Jovan Ustjorzen is P5, 0.9 seconds ahead of David Forsyth. Brian Patterson is P10, 0.6 seconds behind Richard Ogden. Jovan Ustjorzen is P5, 0.9 seconds ahead of David Forsyth. Brian Patterson is P10, 0.2 seconds behind Richard Ogden. Richard Ogden is P10, 1.0 seconds behind Brian Patterson. Louis van Jaarsveld is P12 on standards. David Forsyth is P6 on standards, 1.3 seconds behind Jovan Ustjorzen. 5 minutes remaining in the session. Rene Robertson is P8, 0.5 seconds behind Ryan Skywalker. Jovan Ustjorzen is P5, 1.1 seconds ahead of David Forsyth. Rene Robertson on lap 14 is P8 battling Ryan Skywalker. David Forsyth is P6, 0.2 seconds behind Jovan Ustjorzen. Louis van Jaarsveld entering the pits after 8 laps on standards is P12. Jovan Ustjorzen is P5, 0.7 seconds ahead of David Forsyth. John Astrup from New Zealand is P11, 0.5 seconds behind Richard Ogden. Jovan Ustjorzen is P5, 0.7 seconds ahead of David Forsyth. John Astrup is P11 on standards, 0.2 seconds behind Richard Ogden. Jovan Ustjorzen is P5, 0.8 seconds ahead of David Forsyth. John Astrup is P10 on standards, 0.9 seconds ahead of Richard Ogden. Jovan Ustjorzen is P5, 0.7 seconds ahead of David Forsyth. Louis van Jaarsveld is P13. Louis van Jaarsveld entering the pits after 3 laps on standards is P13. Glenfield is P12. Jovan Oosthuizen on lap 17 is P5, 0.7 seconds ahead of David Forsyth. Eric Bohm is P3, 1.2 seconds behind San Markholm. Jovan Oosthuizen is P5, 1.4 seconds ahead of David Forsyth. Richard Ogden is P11. Best lap is a 151.356. 4.499 off the fastest lap. Eric Bohm is P3, 1.0 seconds behind San Markholm. Attila Ksenia is P1. The leader has just finished the race. Attila Ksenia finished P1. Richard Ogden finished P11. Sam Markholm from Zimbabwe is P2. San Markholm finished P2. Eric Bohm finished P3. David Kelsall finished P4. Glenfield finished P12. Jovan Oosthuizen is P5. Jovan Oosthuizen finished P5. David Forsyth finished P6. Rene Robertson finished P7. Ryan Skywalker finished P8. Brian Patterson finished P9. John Astrup finished P10.